Hello everyone, I'm the Big Brainless, and we're here to review the Opticor Vandal today. Now we're going to be testing, as a disclaimer, we're going to be testing this on higher level enemies, namely 105 Corpus Techs and 105 Corrupted Heavy Gunners. They'll be incredibly tanky enemies, take it with a grain of salt, especially since most enemies you'll be facing in day-to-day missions won't really exceed level 80. Now, if you plan on taking this into arbitrations, I greatly suggest my Riven'd build, which I will be showing you in just a moment. So let's start with the normal Opticor build. This is incredibly normal. You can drop Malignant Force or Stormbringer, and Cryo-Rounds is my budget because my Riven'd is a Vazarin slot, and I'm too broke to afford Forma. So, if you know somebody who has Forma, too much Forma to spare, please donate. And then, so the rest is pretty simple. I'll explain why each mod is on here. Multi-shot. Basically key in any rifle. This goes into almost every single rifle, if not every single rifle. I can think of very few exceptions. Point strike, crit chance. Your base crit chance is pretty good. I will say, it's 24 is pretty good, but bumping that up to 60 makes it incredibly, way more consistent. You can actually pump out DPS. Vigilante armaments, once again, multi-shot. It's there, it's good. I use Vigilante because I just enjoy how multi-shot interacts with the weapon. Stormbringer, Malignant Force, you can do whatever you want with this. Generally, I run, Stormbringer, Malignant Force for corrosive, or in the case of radiation, replace that with the heat one, which I believe is thermite rounds. Yeah, Scorch is the other one for pistol. Vital Sense, crit damage. If you have 60% crit chance, you want big chunk crit damage. Without Vital Sense, 2.6. With it, 5.7. 60% of the time, you'll be dealing a load of damage. Serration, damage. That's pretty obvious. Cryo-Rounds, I'm budget, and these two we flip back and forth. So for now, let's switch it back to radiation. All right, so I've already spawned 8 Corpus Techs. I'll respawn them just for show. And so these are level 105 Corpus Techs. With a normal build, you do shred pretty fast, pretty damn fast. So, the only annoying thing here is, the impact. So sometimes I'm not even charging the beam up all the way. As long as it goes above halfway, you can fire the beam. So that's a fully charged beam, which you can clearly see does a lot more damage. All right, so that's don't get me wrong, that's plenty of damage for any normal person ever. So that's the normal build we're looking at. If we were testing it against Grineer, you will see a huge drop off in damage, in my opinion. Even against Grineer, I prefer radiation. So let's spawn bombards, corrupted bombards, right? Let's spawn 8 of these. So with 8 corrupted bombards, it's not too bad. Once again, weak is alloy armor, so it's weak to radiation. You'll see, very clearly there's a kind of a pretty noticeable drop off in DPS, right? So won't continue doing that for you. It's a pretty noticeable drop off in DPS. So let's go ahead and kill these guys. All right. So now let's look at a kind of a meme build before we go on to the next one. So this is the chunk meme build I've built, and it's a lot of fire rate. In my opinion, Opticor's main, once again, budget here, you can easily replace it with something far better. Usually Prime Shred is good here. You have that, put that in there. I greatly suggest not using this build normally, because all it's got really is fire rate, but the big part that makes it a meme is heavy caliber. Now it's got a fuckload of damage, as you can clearly see in comparison to the normal build. Its damage is hugely increased, its fire rate is hugely increased, but it doesn't have any sort of, elemental damage. It's just pure chunk. Maybe a little bit of cold. You can replace this maybe with a heat mod or something. So here's how it plays out. It's, it's interesting at best. Let's spawn 8 of these. All right. So Corpus Techs, you saw, normal build, very convincing. Rips apart Corpus Techs. This build, I mean, I'm not saying it's not ripping through Corpus Techs. If anything, these are charged all the way, by the way. Incredibly fast fire rate. So you can clearly see it's dealing significantly less damage. There's no no radiation to fuck Corvus decks. But it's incredibly fun, since you saw how minus 50% accuracy was on the build, but realistically there was no accuracy drop off because of how Opticor works. All right, so now let's look at a Riven'd build, and you'll see just how noticeable of a difference this is. So this is the build. It's a gas slash build. You'll notice I have 0 puncture, and a lot of people will kind of question, puncture is a lot of damage. Why would you ever want to remove that? And the answer is procs. So without puncture, a lot of the other things will have a high chance of proccing. And so this is my Riven'd. It's not perfect, but I actually really enjoy the damage to Grenier, mostly because Grenier is the only faction gas has a real problem with, or this build in general has a real problem with. So building for plus Grenier does a lot in the long run, and especially since all faction damage is calculated at the end, not at the beginning. Serration, Split Chamber, Vital Sense, all of this is pretty obvious. Infected Clip for even more gas damage. You'll see just how chonker this build is compared to all the other builds we've seen so far. Keep in mind, these are level 105 Corpus decks, enemies you'll basically never see. Deleted. Gone. They were alive for maybe the whole of 2 seconds. And remember, gas has a kind of a small AoE zone, so you can really abuse it against crowds of enemies. Now, I'm sure you're curious again how this build will fare against kind of a higher tiered quote-unquote enemy. So let's move on to the corrupted heavy gunners first, before we do corrupted bombards. So let's do corrupted heavy gunners. Alright, so corrupted heavy gunners is they're all ferrite armor, so no corrosive means not as much damage, but these are level 105 corrupted heavy gunners. Look at that. Gone. In an instant. And the reload on this gun is amazing, frankly. I use the Ignis a lot, but I've switched over to mostly Opticor now. Alright, now we've seen corrupted heavy gunners, which generally are one of the most tanky enemies in the game. Let's move on to the corrupted bombards. And the reason we don't do Eximus here is because, Eximus do have more health, but there's a high chance it will spawn an Arctic Eximus, and all my plans will be ruined. So let's do corrupted bombard. Alright, so these are corrupted bombards. They have alloy armor, not ferrite armor. Gone. Deleted. Just all it took is one click. Or one and a little bit. Yeah. So when you talk about minus puncture on weapons, minus puncture might be one of the best for Opticor. Now, don't get me wrong, Opticor is a great gun even without, especially the Vandal version, even without a good Riven'd like that. Remember, these are enemies that are level 105 with incredibly high base stats, and the real only enemies you're going to be facing are going to be lower than level 100, level 80. In fact, I'll even switch over to the normal build, my budget ass cryo rounds Opticor build, and spawn a couple level 80s, and you'll see just how noticeable of a difference this makes. So these are level 80s, which is a huge drop in overall level stats, I would say. As you can see, not an issue in the slightest. Ripping through these guys like paper. If I don't miss, it'll rip through them like paper. And remember, Opticor has a little bit of a splash at the end, so as a projectile that deals a crap load of damage and then a little bit of splash at the end. So for your general purpose needs, Opticor Vandal is an incredibly great gun. With a great Riven'd, it becomes an even better gun, and with an excellent Riven'd, I would even claim mine is excellent, it becomes quite the killer. Thank you for watching. Singy, good luck.